Welcome back to Velshi and Rule. We're about to talk about a story with images and descriptions that will be very difficult to see and hear. But it is an important story that we must understand the human toll of the immigration policy that's being advocated by President Trump. Here's the image on your screen right now. That image. That's a 23-month-old baby, a toddler, with her arm around her dad's neck, face down, tucked inside his shirt. They're both dead on the banks of the Rio Grande in Mexico. But they can see America. Both the father and daughter with dark hair. You can see her little red shorts with her diaper peeking out. You can see her tiny little shoes. But these aren't just images. They were people. People with names and lives who are desperately searching for a better life. So we want to tell you about them. According to the Associated Press, the family's journey began exactly 12 weeks ago today in El Salvador. The father, whose name was Oscar Alberto Martinez Ramirez, arrived with his small daughter Valeria and his wife Tanya at the U.S. consulate in Mexico on Sunday, legally presenting themselves for asylum. According to the New York Times, Oscar left his job at Papa John's, where $350 a month was all he had to provide for his young family. We are learning now that when they presented themselves, they were told it will be several weeks before any asylum process could even begin. The U.S. policy of metering has slowed down asylum claims, reducing the number of people even permitted to request asylum every single day.
Just remember, asylum is a legal process. This is not what President Trump calls illegals. Frustrated and desperate, according to interviews, Ramirez decided to cross the Rio Grande. The river looks calm, but it has a surface that hides dangerous currents beneath. The most heartbreaking part of this is that Valeria was successfully taken across to America by her father, according to his wife Tanya, when Oscar turned back for his wife. Their daughter became scared. The little girl stood on a foreign shore with nothing familiar but the shirt on her back, her red pants, those small shoes. Reacting as any child might react, she jumped into the water after her father. As her mother watched in horror, the current began taking the little girl. Oscar was able to get back to his daughter, but soon they were both taken by the river's undertow. As night fell, the search for them was called off, and their bodies were found on Monday. Valeria, seen here, tucked into Oscar's shirt, her small arm around his neck. Oscar was 25 years old. We've just learned from Oscar's mother that she pleaded with him not to go. She also said through tears that Oscar loved his daughter very much. And because of that love, Oscar took his family to America. The last message she got from her son was, "Mama, I love you. Take care of yourselves." All right, Jacob Soboroff is here. He has been covering this border crisis with us since the very beginning. Jacob, this tells a different story than some of what some people would like us to believe. These are people who went there to claim themselves as people seeking asylum, for which we have hearings in this country. Most people who claim asylum coming across that southern border never get it. They get a hearing, but they're turned away.
This is shameful. We should all be ashamed, and we should be ashamed not just for this father and his daughter and the surviving members of this family, but remember, every American should know thousands of people have died attempting to cross into the United States over the course of the last 3 decades. Thousands. I'm not talking about 10 or 20. I'm not talking about the 6 children who have tragically died in the custody of CBP during the Trump administration. I'm talking about thousands of people have died trying to get to this country.
Crossing the Rio Grande,
in
crossing
the Rio
deserts.
Grande, in the falfurrious brush in South Texas, in the desert in Arizona, where I've been in the middle of the night, where they have literally the Border Patrol sets up rescue beacons. So many people get stranded looking for help. And the reason that they cross in this way is because they believe it's the easiest way to get into the country. And in this case, as you guys both stated perfectly, it was because of the process of metering. When they came to legally present themselves at the Matamoros Bridge in South Texas, they were told, you can't come in until a week from now. And instead of sitting there and wait for a week, they said, we've got to get in now.
Now, has that changed? Because the president in the last week has argued that the policies were worse, more draconian when Obama was in office. Tell us what it's like now when you go to seek asylum. Is it worse now than ever? Is it better than before?
All you got to do is drive 5 minutes past the border in El Paso
but only
or Tijuana.
you have, so explain it to us.
Gabe Gutierrez was on the bridge in Matamoros during the separations exactly a year ago. Most of us, we were all in South Texas during this horrific separation policy. On that bridge at that time, and it continues today, people are sitting there basically pleading with border agents on a daily basis, can I come into the country? We've seen stories, Cal Perry did some amazing stories, of people writing numbers on their arms, waiting to get into the country. Lists that were kept, you're 1,000th in line in order to get into the country. Informal lists kept by non-governmental organizations. That's how disorganized this is. And that's what the Trump administration wants. They want people. It has not always been this way. Let's say it again. It has not always been this way. It is worse now than it has ever been before. And that is because the administration believes they can scare people away from trying to come here.
But this picture will scare people.
It won't scare people. It will not. It does not stop people from coming. Deterrence has never, ever stopped people from coming.
Why?
It just makes them try more dangerous ways.
Why?
Because these are the most desperate people in the world, going through one of the most dangerous countries, Mexico, in the world, in order to have a better life. You don't make a trip through one of the most dangerous countries in the world because it's a walk in Central Park, as one Trump administration official
So let's discuss, what would have happened to this family. Yeah, unbelievable. What would have happened had they been granted the ability to claim asylum in the United States? And I want to ask you about this specifically because when you claim asylum, you appear at some point before a magistrate or a judge.
Immigration judge.
And you require, generally speaking, legal representation.
You show up and they determine, agents on the front line determine if you have a credible fear. Most people pass their credible fear screening and they're put into the immigration adjudication process, and they get access to an immigration lawyer, which brings up a new and critically important point, which actually Julia Ainsley and I just reported today, which is the money is literally, because Congress hasn't agreed on a border funding deal, literally running out to pay for free legal services for immigrant children who are in the custody of HHS. So
what about the bill that passed last night, that went through the House last night?
That's the House bill. The Senate has to pass a bill. They have to reconcile the two bills, and the president has to sign it. So in between now and when the president ultimately signs this after the 4th of July recess, you could have, I cannot state enough how important this is, children in the custody of the federal government without access to free legal aid.
So a little child may appear before a judge without representation.
You could have infants go before a judge by themselves without a lawyer, which increases their chance of being deported to the same dangerous country that their parents or their aunt or their uncle decided to bring them through.
But hold on a second. If the president has been saying it's Congress, they're the ones blocking it. If the House has now said, here's this $4.5 billion, and now it's sitting with the Senate and the president, isn't it now in Republicans' hands what they're going to do?
Yeah, and I would say there's absolutely no excuse to go on a recess through the 4th of July. We're talking about thousands of children. 1,000 right here in Florida at the Homestead Center that may not have legal representation. Those new bases that they're setting up on military bases, those facilities, there's no legal representation at them. 50 kids in Arizona at a brand new facility between the ages of 0 and 5 have no legal representation as of this moment as I'm talking to you.
All right, well, seeing that $4.5 billion got voted on from the House last night, let's actually share what Republican Senator Ron Johnson, who is the chair of the Homeland Security Committee, said earlier today.
I didn't have time to have a picture blown up, but we've all seen it, of Oscar Alberto Martinez Ramirez and his 23-month-old daughter, Valeria. Now, I realize tragedies occur all over this country, all over the world. I don't want to see another picture like that on the U.S. border. I hope that picture alone will catalyze this Congress, this Senate, this committee to do something. We need to start doing something. It is well past time. And that picture that all Americans woke up this morning looking at, again, should be used as a catalyst for that kind of action.
I mean, that's Republican Ron Johnson. Bernie Sanders just put a statement out in response to the photograph of that father and his daughter, where Bernie writes, "The photo of this father and his young daughter is horrific. It is just one painful example of so many that demonstrate the reckless disregard for basic humanity that have come from Trump's policies. The Trump administration has refused to process asylum seekers, torn families apart, and thrown children into cages. all in a deliberate effort to stoke anti-immigrant hatred. We need an overhaul of our immigration system that treats desperate people with humanity and compassion, not as criminals, and fulfills our obligation to guarantee those coming to America with safe and healthy conditions.
The president said to Maria Bartiromo on Fox Business yesterday, though, that because this bill doesn't fund the wall, he may not sign it.
It's pathetic. I'm sorry. I just can't. We can't. As a country, I don't care if you're a journalist or a citizen or a candidate for president on this stage or what party you're in.
Hopefully you're a citizen if you're a candidate.
Yeah, thank you. That picture that played out there it has played out thousands of times in this country, and people don't see them. It happens all the time. We're all looking at it now. We're all outraged and upset right now. But it's happened over the course of the last 30 years. Over 7,000, I believe, times people have died trying to get into this country.
Any official statement from the White House when the zero tolerance policy was ended? Ivanka Trump said in an interview with ABC that child separation was a low point in the administration. Fast forward to today. Have we heard anything officially from her?
Not as far as I know, and I haven't heard from my colleagues at the White House, but I'm sure if there is, we will hear something.
Hey, MSNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there and click on any of the videos here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more MSNBC for free every day with our newsletters. Just visit msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up now.